right, so thank you guys for coming. My name is Andres, in case you don't know. This is the Baking Steel Test Kitchen in our Zoom. Got Craig over here. Say hi, Craig.
What's up?
What's up? And today we are doing English muffins, and we're gonna do this a little bit out of order because I think that's gonna be the most efficient way to do it for questions and answers. And so, like a movie, we're gonna start with the finished product. So I'm gonna move. In fact, we're gonna go right. So in other words, we're gonna make the English muffins on the mini griddle first, and then after we get those started, we'll move over to getting into dough and balling up and the recipe and all of that. Okay. So if you have any questions along the way, just throw them in there, and Craig will have pauses throughout this today to jump on those and answer all of your questions. So with that said, let's get onto the oven. I'm going to show you guys what I'm looking at over here. Let me know if that lighting's okay, Chef. I got my mini griddle here, kind of preheating up, and I use an infrared gun. Is that lighting okay? To check my temperature. And this has been preheating for maybe like 5 minutes. And I'm at about 300 degrees right now, kind of all over. The way I preheat my griddle is I turn my burner on full tilt, and I want as much heat all around as I can. And the fastest way to do that is to go on high. But when I hit close to my temperature, which is there now, I'm going to drop my number down, my burner down to like really kind of minimal, to like the setting is like low to me, like low. In fact, I'm just going to maintain that heat. And that's where the baking steel really shines, is that once it gets hot, it stays hot. And so to maintain a temperature is not really difficult. So just to rephrase that, I go really high, get to my number or even beyond it, and then I reduce. And that does is it keeps it a nice steady temperature throughout. And so like, for example, my corners here, 285 here, this is about 300 here, and my center is about 300. So it's a little hotter this way. So I probably didn't center this perfectly. And over here, yeah, same. So we're pretty even throughout now, 300 degrees. Ideal for English muffins, 3 to 325. Yeah, I mess up. Any questions? So my next thing is what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some avocado oil, and you could use avocado oil, you could use clarified butter. It's a good smoking point. This is about 300 degrees. My muffins have been proofing at room temperature for the last 2 or 3 hours. And so what I'm gonna do is, actually it's probably a little bit more. Put these down in the oil. You can see it sizzle. I'm just gonna do 2 here. I can say 2 for later, but you can see I'm frying these in avocado oil essentially. And I'm gonna use a timer, because we found about 5 minutes per side to be pretty solid. So my timer goes on to 5 minutes. My burner's still on. So check my temperature one more time. A little bit hot, a little bit too warm. So I'm gonna drop it even more. I think it might be because of the oil, getting the reflection. Yeah, there we go. Okay. In any case, a little bit too warm, but that's okay. I can adjust as I go. My temperature now is like really on the lower side. I'm not gonna turn the fan on. And we'll watch the, do I wanna press those down? Probably. What I'm gonna do is, actually they're kind of cook good. I might just flatten them a little bit, right? They probably haven't proved perfect enough yet, but they're getting there. I'm gonna cook these for 5 minutes, then we'll flip them and we'll get back to this. How's that? All right, cool. All right, so I got my English muffins baking or cooking. We say fry, not dry, because we like to use the olive oil versus going inside the oven, where they tend to get dried up a little bit too much. We experimented with a lot of different formulas when we were making our muffins, and we found that, you know, at first was clarified butter worked brilliantly, but it became a little tricky trying to dial in that temperature because butter will burn at higher temps. In any case, We found avocado oil to be brilliant, and makes these vegan too. So we also use, which will bring us to the recipe now. Let's get right into the recipe. We use a fat in the recipe itself, and we use avocado oil. So use it in the recipe itself and on the griddle. And if you don't have a griddle, you can make these on the baking steel. You can put your baking steel on your oven. Just be careful that you don't put excess oil on so it spills off the sides. So just be, again, mindful of how you do that. All right. Should I mix the dough first? Then we'll get to some questions. All right. So for the ingredients, I've pre-measured everything. I want to reiterate that when we make anything with science, breads or pizza doughs or anything, we need to measure our ingredients with this digital scale, because we've formulated this recipe to be a certain hydration, certain water to flour. That's really critical. And the only way to really do that is to dial it in with a scale. Okay, make sense? How's it looking, Chef? All right, is it too hot? Oh, okay, gotcha. Might be some, right? Okay, I spilled some. All right, so anyway, my flour, everything is pre-measured. I'm using an all-purpose flour today. I'm using an organic bread flour. I'm sorry, this is an all-purpose flour from Bob's. Available at most markets. This is a really great flour for English muffins. So all-purpose is a little bit softer, not as strong as like a bread flour would be. And when you're biting into English muffins, it's awesome. So I literally take all my dry ingredients, which is going to be 550 grams of flour, 20 grams of salt, and I just kind of whisk that in. Okay. Oh, will you give me some yeast, Chef? Like maybe a gram and a half or so. I whisk that in. I'm using sugar in these. You don't need to. I'm using a little bit of organic cane sugar, 20 grams. I whisk that in. And then I'm going to take, that's it. Actually, I'm going to take some yeast. Whisk my yeast in here. Here. And now I'm going to take my yeast, which is about a gram and a half of yeast, and whisk that in. Once I've whisked everything together, I can actually add my water. This is room temperature water. It's about 350 grams of water, I forget, maybe 325 of water. And now I'm gonna take my spoon and just make everything together, combine everything. And then I can add my oil in last. I could add it in now too if I would like. I'm just gonna add it in last today because that's my mood. So I feel like I'm trying to mix everything into a bowl today to keep my countertops clean. Wish me luck. And now once I get it somewhat together, I can use my hand, press the oil and the flour together. And I do that just so I prevent any dry clumps of flour. Take these. Want me to show what's going on over there? Sure. I'm gonna bring you guys back. We're gonna pause, go back to the oven. You guys are awesome. Let's go back here for a second. You can see, I'm gonna use my hand, which actually I'm not going to too hard press. Yeah. I'm just gonna flip these over, boom, right? Turn and flip. I can add a little bit more oil now if I'd like. I'm gonna press these down just slightly. Sweet. They look awesome. Bake these for maybe 5 more minutes. My griddle's at really good temperature, basically. My timer on again. 5 more minutes. You can start to see they're looking pretty awesome. Those are about a 5-minute bake on each side. Sometimes a little bit longer. Maybe we find like maybe 5:15, depends, on the temperature. Back to my dough. I'm just kneading my dough, right? Pressing together. And all I'm doing now this is kind of formed one big mass. I'm going to add my oil in. And the oil just kind of helps get inside those gluten strands a little bit. And it seems to soften the texture a little bit when we bite into them. It makes it's a little bit different. This kind of finds its way in between those gluten strands.
How much oil was that?
That was about 20 grams of oil. That was an avocado oil. Feel free to explore different types. You can see it's kind of one big massive dough. Nice way to zen out, right? It's kind of chill, zen. So now my next move is, this is about done. I'm gonna cover this with plastic wrap, okay? And let it sit at room temperature for the next, call it 10 hours, maybe 8 to 10 hours at room temperature. Then before I go to bed, I'll take this bowl and cupboard, put it right into the fridge until tomorrow, or until Friday, or until I bake, until I want to make my English muffin. So I made this dough yesterday, and I knew we'd be making English muffins today. And so it's been probably about a 24-hour ferment, which makes them pretty awesome. You can go longer, you can go short. Actually, we've made these in like same day, right? Mm-hmm. We've also made these same day, and they're actually, to be honest, pretty good. You're not going to get the health benefits of a fermentation that you would normally with a 24-hour dough, but hey, why not? Kind of cool. Let's check these out. Now, so I made this dough last night and I put it into this container. It's been in the fridge. This morning I pulled some out to make the dough balls, which is the next step, which is kind of critical, which will bring us to what I did this morning before class. And this is about 4 hours ago. We prepped the dough to make English muffins today. So we removed it and we made our portions. And I'm going to show you what we do with our portions and how we make our dough balls with English muffins. Okay. So again, I like to use a digital scale. I turn this thing on. I make my individual portions. And now this dough is cold, so it's a little bit easier to work. We've done these at room temperature. It's not as easy, okay? I like my English muffins to be about 85 to 90 grams, okay? And there's an 85 right there on the button. So I've got my portion. I literally put it on a work surface, and this work surface is pretty clean. I don't have any flour or anything on it, okay? And now using my hand, I'm gonna make a cupping motion. I'm gonna press down and just kind of follow a circle, right? You can see it's turning into a ball. I'm pressing down at the same time. And I take this ball, I kind of close up, there's any kind of seam in there. You can see I got this nice little, almost like a munchkin, right? What I do next, actually, this is gonna be a good, I can show you the difference here. I'm gonna take some semolina flour, put it on my sheet tray, and put my ball right next to it. And you can see, I made these ones this is the same exact size at 7 a.m. And this is like just now, so fresh. These are proofing, okay? And what it does, it starts to relax. And you can see it's expanding in size. So you can see these are identical size. This is a 4-hour proof. This is a 1-minute proof. To be honest, it's a little bit cool in here. These could proof a little bit further, meaning I want to come out, get even a little bit bigger than they are, but they're gonna be fine. As you'll see in just a minute, our English muffins are almost done. All right, so you make the balls by pressing down. In fact, I'll make another one for you, so you guys can see. A lot of stuff going on here today. All right, now English muffin just about done. Okay, so perfect. So we got this here, 85 grams again, okay? I press down and using a circular motion, and I'm kind of cupping my hand at the same time. You can see how I've got to kind of cup. So I'm like palming it almost. Just turn and press. And I'm pushing down, I'm giving it some pressure. And then I take my ball, it's nice and closed up, semolina flour. I already have some semolina down here, cover it. I want to proof these at room temperature, but I use plastic wrap. I don't want air hitting these. So cover them up loosely and let them sit for several hours, and then we bake them. I'm going to pull one out here just so you guys can see what we've done. Pull the hole off here. All right, so I've got my English muffin here. In fact, maybe I have a band. My cooling rack is my rubber bands, our baking steel bands. Put that right on there. See that? It's cooling it nicely. What I'm doing is you can see, there's our English muffin. Isn't that beautiful? Now, ideally, I want to wait until these cool. However, in fact, we're going to let it cool a little bit. Let's get to some questions. Then we'll open this thing up so you guys can check out the nooks and the crannies inside. All right? So let's get to it.
Whisking water and oil together to get it dispersed, is that wrong to do? Or like, why the oil at the end?
Good question. So a couple of schools of thought on this. If you noticed, I whisked the dry ingredients together with my whisk. Once the liquid was incorporated, I removed the whisk and replaced it with a spatula, because I'm sure in the beginning, I used to use the whisk with liquid and it gets all trapped inside. It's a mess. It's a pain in the ass to clean it. Pardon my language. This is rated PG now, not G. So just be mindful. Again, dry ingredients, whisk. Once you add water, you can add a spatula.
Right, but why oil by itself at the end? Why not
Oh,
mix the
cool.
oil
So
and water together?
okay. So the oil in the recipe is going to kind of lube up those gluten strands. So when we bite into it, it's going to give it a little different texture. Okay. Couple of rules of thumb on this. Some bakers like to add the oil last. To be honest, I don't know if I can tell the difference. Maybe I'm just not that sophisticated of a palate. So I did it this way just because I did the earlier batch the other way. I'm trying to test myself to see if I can tell the difference. Probably not. I find the best way is to take all your liquids together. So at my water and my oil, combine them, and then add it to the dry ingredients. So I'm just testing it out today. Again, not scientific, just kind of seeing if I can feel it. And I've got a good, tribal knowledge of dough now. I've handled it enough times and tasted it enough times, but I'm not sure I can tell the difference. Can you tell the difference? Can anybody here tell the difference?
It's kind of like the pizza dough thing. I couldn't tell the difference either.
Pizza dough, right? And that's almost. But like in the bar pizza, maybe.
I can taste it. I can't taste the difference in like the procedure of making the
dough.
dough.
No, right. Like, yeah. So we can tell the difference between oil and not oil, for sure. Correct.
But the method you get the oil into the dough, no chance.
Yeah, and maybe if you're doing huge batches of it. I mean, I guess if anybody here has done that experiment, let us know.
Is there a substitute for semolina flour?
Ooh, because semolina is tough to get. If I don't have that's a really good question. If I don't have semolina flour, I'm not making English muffins. Period. Right? I mean, I don't know. I don't remember a time. In fact, we have used flour before. It's not the same.
It's definitely the
I
same.
just don't. If I don't have semolina flour, I'm not making English muffins. It's part of my mise en place. If I had to, I would use flour, just regular flour. Cornmeal, maybe. Be really careful with that because it could burn a little too fast. Admiring this, by the way. Isn't that a good size, by the way? 90 grams, 85 grams.
Could you add raisins, and if so, when?
Raisins, just don't give them to my kids. Yes, I would do them before I guess at the same time I'm whisking in my dry ingredients, throw your raisins in, right? That makes the most sense to me. And maybe a little, now if I am putting raisins in there, maybe a little cinnamon. That would be pretty good.
The recipe in the book calls for 1.5 tablespoons of melted butter in the dough. Have you decided not to use butter now?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So the recipe in our book, Baking with Steel, our earlier versions of this, and still legendary, we're using clarified butter, and particularly because of the fat does the same thing to the dough, but is more for the griddle. Clarified butter versus regular butter because it would burn too fast. We stumbled across avocado oil and just love the way it cooks. and taste too. It's yeah, and by the way, it's vegan, so it's kind of
Cool.
cool because we think we're cool.
How many muffins do you get from one recipe?
11, 12, depending on the size. Like we do them around 85 to 90. We get 11-ish usually. We should have made the recipe with 12. Baker's dozen.
Temperature gun, what brand? What are you using?
Okay, let's get to that. Temperature gun. This is from Amazon. I'm not a huge fan of buying everything from Amazon right now, but they're good, I guess.
Ecticity, right?
I can't say it.
Yeah.
Etexity on Amazon. Read the reviews. This goes up to $7.50. Sometimes they're better if they go higher because if depending what you're cooking, but that's a pretty good number, $7.50. You don't want to be cooking anything higher than $7.50 on your baking steel, really, to be honest. Anything else? No? Good. All right.
Some recipes have dairy, like milk or buttermilk in them.
Mhm.
Thoughts?
Yeah, give it a go. I mean, some recipes like dairy in there. I think it's going to provide a little softness to it. I think some people use milk too. Same idea. Yeah, give it a shot. I would experiment.
See milk powder too in some of them.
Yeah, I don't know what that does. Milk powder, if that's the same as using milk.
Can you store extra finished muffins in the freezer?
Yeah,
Of course.
totally. Let it cool all the way down first, but bread freezes great. Ironically, not the dough, but the bread freezes amazing. So I really recommend making them all and then freezing them. And just take them out the day you're gonna, cook them off. Let them, it doesn't take long for bread to thaw out. Like minutes, right? Isn't it minutes? Yeah, it's minutes.
Sourdough starter.
Oh, good question. So if I have starter and I want to use it, I would put in 20% of starter into my recipe and remove 10% water and 10% flour to equal what the starter did. So that helped. 20% in, that's it. Remember, substituting 20% of, and I say 20% based on the flour. So for this recipe was 500 grams flour. It's actually 550, but I would remove 10%, which would be 55 grams of flour, and 10%, which would be 55 grams of water, and put that in. Starter, okay?
Do you split them with a fork?
Ooh, we're gonna get to that, and yes, because this is a really contested way of opening English muffins up.
Where can I get the recipe? Online.
Yeah, we've got a recipe. We'll link it up. It's on our website right now, or you can just Google legendary English muffins and we will pop up. And there's actually a video there as well on what we just did in a video format. Right? That's where it is. Yes, it's a great recipe. Really is amazing.
What are your favorite / best toppings to go with an English muffin, in your opinion? No dietary restrictions.
Great question. What are my favorite toppings on English muffins? Two things. I caramelize it. So I will put this in a toaster oven and cook it. So it's caramelized with butter. That's my favorite topping. Single most favorite topping. My second best use for English muffins would be sandwiches, egg sandwiches in particular, like fried egg sandwiches, and then just putting stuff on it, like whatever you have in the fridge or whatever you feel like making that day. It's a great bun for burgers too, even smash burgers. They're awesome. They're really good. They're so versatile, not just for breakfast. And yeah, that's it. I'm very traditional for my English muffins, but mostly just toasted with butter. That's my favorite.
How long do they stay fresh for? How about in a Christmas stocking?
Great question. I don't know that answer. Mine have typically gone in like 2 or 3 days. And I would challenge anyone to keep them around longer than that because they're just so damn good. My son will, even today after school, he'll throw 2 in the toaster oven. I know it. He just loves them. So again, probably like fresh bread, 3 or 4 days. Put them in a plastic bag, room temp, even in the fridge. Or again, if you're not going to use them right away, just freeze them. Pull them out one at a time. Right? Yeah. Anyone else? We good on that? Oh,
Yeah,
awesome. You guys, oh, we gotta open this up, right?
that's right.
How can I forget? Drum roll, please. All right, so this is the English. 5-minute bakes on each side. It's got some nice color in there because we were kind of frying it. Now, the way we open these up is not with the fork. I sever, like, I just kind of go through around the edge, maybe about a 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch. We'll try to capture this on video too, right, Chef?
We got another one.
Oh, good point. Let's just do that. So I'm gonna, once I go around, and now I'm gonna use my hands, and you can see here, I'm pulling it, I'm trying to do it evenly, so I kind of pull around evenly. Ta-da. Awesomeness. You can see it's still smoking. It looks incredible. And so the way, again, I go around the edge, but not all the way through it. And sometimes my wife will just slice right through them. You won't see those nooks and crannies as evident, but it's awesome. They're great. Smells amazing too. All right, anybody else? No? All right. Thank you guys for being here today. Any questions? Always send us a message. We'll put this back up on YouTube later. We hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you guys. Bye.